Market structure. Market structure is a number of and distribution size of buyers and sellers in the market for goods and services. There are four types of market structure: perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. Now we look at their characteristics. Characteristics of perfect competition. The first characteristic is a large number of buyers and sellers. An important feature of perfect competition is the existence of a large number of buyers and sellers. The quantity a single seller sells in a market is so small compared to the overall industry. Therefore, no one can influence the market price of goods. Thus, in perfect competition, firms are price takers because the individual sales volume is relatively small compared to market value. Second characteristic is homogeneous or identical product. All the firms in a perfect competition market will sell identical or homogeneous products. In the market structure, buyers cannot differentiate between products in terms of quality, packaging, color, and design. Hence, the firm cannot charge different prices for the same products in the market. Third, free entry and exit. In perfect competition, there are no restrictions on the entry of new firms to the industry or the exit of firms. A new firm can easily enter into the perfect competition market and exit it at any time it chooses. 4. Non-price competition. Sellers practice non-price competition such as advertising, free gifts, discounts, after-sale services and promotions when they cannot compete among themselves using pricing strategies. However, in perfect competition market, the rule of non-price competition is insignificant as many sellers sell the products at a fixed price and furthermore, the products are identical. 5. Perfect knowledge of the market. All the sellers and buyers will have perfect knowledge of the market. Sellers cannot influence buyers and similarly buyers cannot influence sellers. Sellers must know the prices charged by other sellers in the market and the buyers must know the price being charged by other sellers. Next, perfect mobility of factors of production. Factors of production can freely move from one occupation to another and from one place to another. There is no barrier on their movement. The existence of perfect mobility of factors of production in a perfect competition will lead to the existence of a large number of sellers in the market. And the last characteristic is absence of transport cost. There should not be any transport cost between sellers. In a perfect competition, it is assumed that various firms will work closely with each other so that transport costs are not incurred. If two identical products are at two different places, their prices will be different because of transport cost. Therefore, in perfect competition, there will be no transport cost. Next, we go to characteristics of monopoly. The first characteristic is one seller and a large number of buyers. A monopoly exists when there is only one seller of a product. The difference between a firm and an industry does not exist in a monopoly since there is only one seller. The monopolist is a firm as well as an industry in itself. Second characteristic is product has no close substitutes. There should not be any close substitutes for the product sold by a monopolist. If there are any substitutes, then the monopolist cannot charge a price according to his or her desire, or he or she cannot be the price maker. In other words, a monopoly cannot exist if there is any competition or any substitutes product. Third, price maker. In a perfect competition, no single firm can influence the price, and this is called a price taker. The monopolist is a price maker since there is only one seller and one producer, and it has the power to control the price in the market. Fourth characteristic is restriction on the entry of new firms. In a monopoly market, there will be strict barriers to the entry of new firms. A monopoly faces no competition because of barriers to entry. Next, a type of restriction on the entry of new firms happen because control over raw material. A monopoly status can also be maintained through control over the supply of raw materials. An example of this type of monopolies is De Beers, a company of South Africa which controls more than 80% of the world's production of raw diamonds. In this case, the entry of rivals is almost impossible. The second is patent and copyright. A patent is an exclusive right to the production of an innovative product. A copyright is an exclusive right to the author of a book or composer of a music or producer of a movie. Patents and copyrights are granted to encourage firms and individuals to be original and inventive. Third, cost of establishing an efficient plant. A natural monopoly exists when one firm can meet the entire market demand at a lower price as compared to two or more firms. Examples of these natural monopolies are utility companies such as water, electricity, and local phone services. It will not make sense to have two electricity companies in the same area or even two water companies. For example, we can have only TNB providing electricity in one area and not two or three companies providing the same services. And the last is government franchises. The government will give exclusive rights to a firm to sell certain goods and services in a certain area. For example, the government of Malaysia has given the right to install the satellite television system to Astro in Malaysia. And the last characteristic for monopoly is advertising. Advertising in the monopoly market depends on the products sold. If the products are luxury goods such as imported cars, then the monopoly need some advertisement to inform consumers about the goods. Local public utilities such as water, electricity or home phone services do not need any advertisement from the monopolies since the consumer knows where to obtain such goods. Monopoly can practice price discrimination. Price discrimination means the producer or the seller selling or charging a different prices to different buyers for the same types of goods. So to make or to apply price discrimination, they have 6 conditions. The first one is existence of monopoly. Discrimination is possible only if a monopoly exists and if there are no competitors in the market. The second condition is existence of different markets for the same commodity. The market will be divided into sub-markets among which the product cannot be exchanged. This market segregation will enhance price discrimination because buyers in one market are not aware of the prices charged for the same commodity in other market. The third is existence of different degrees of elasticity of demand. Monopolies can charge higher prices in an inelastic demand and lower prices in an elastic market. Monopolies can expect higher profit if they practice price discrimination. 4. Cost of separating the market must be low. Monopolies will incur cost when separating the market and charging different prices in different markets. The cost of separating the market must be kept low in order to earn a profit. Number 5. No resale. Products purchased in a market where prices are low should not be resold in a higher price market. In other words, the buyer cannot resell the products to gain profit. Therefore, the practice of price discrimination will be more appropriate in the service sector such as transportation, legal, medical, and others. Number 6. Legal sanctions. Sometimes the government allows the public sector such as suppliers of electricity to charge different customers different prices. For example, domestic and commercial users pay different prices for electricity. So, price discrimination has 3 types and we call it as degree. The first degree of price discrimination is the condition where the monopolists know the maximum price each buyer is willing to pay for a given quantity. In other words, first degree price discrimination occurs when the firm charges different prices for each unit sold and charges each consumer the maximum prices that he or she is willing to pay for each unit. For example, in auctions, where each person bids for a product and the highest bidders gets the product. Next, the second degree price discrimination occurs when the products are grouped into blocks and each block is charged a different price. This is done to keep the consumer satisfied and prevent new entrants. For example, when consumers photocopy books, the charge may be 10 cents per page, but to duplicate 100 pages, the charge will be less than 5 cents per page. Other examples include electricity, parking charges, and many more. The third degree price discrimination happens when the market are divided into many submarkets or subgroups. Each group is considered a market. The price to be charged depends on the price elasticity of demand. For example, when adults are charged more for movie tickets compared to children. Other examples include transportation like air, railway, bus, or LRT. It could be medical, legal, and also entertainment sectors. Next, we go to characteristic of monopolistic competition. The first characteristic is a large number of sellers. There are a large number of sellers in a monopolistic competition. Although a large number of firms exist in a monopolistic competition market, but it is less than perfect competition. The size of each firm is small and therefore no individual firm can influence the market price. Second, differentiated products. Each seller will use various methods to differentiate their products from one seller to create a preference among buyers or consumers. Differentiation of the product may be through the packaging, design, labeling, advertising, and brand names. Third characteristic is free entry and exit. Entry into and exit out of the monopolistic competitive industry are unrestricted. New firms may enter the industry with close substitutes to the existing brand. Entry into and exit out of the monopolistic competition are not as easy in perfect competition because of product differentiation. Next, non-price competition. The producers or sellers in a monopolistic competition use various methods to attract consumers to buy a particular brand. They create a sense of brand consciousness among customers. Types of non-price competition practiced in monopoly competition market are advertisements, promotions, discounts, free gifts, after-sale services, and others. The last one is selling cost. Each firm tries to promote its product by using different types of advertisement that vary in cost. The different advertisements include banners, media advertisements, billboards, pamphlets, and others. The expenditure incurred is known as selling cost and needs to be added to the cost of production. Characteristic of oligopoly. The first characteristic is a few in number but large in size. The market share of each firm is large enough to dominate the market. A few firms control the overall industry in an oligopoly. Second, homogeneous or differentiated product. The product sold in an oligopoly may be either homogeneous or differentiated. For example, in Malaysia, petroleum and automobiles are in an oligopoly market where petroleum is homogeneous but cars are differentiated products. Mutual interdependence. The firms in an oligopoly always consider to the reaction of their rivals when choosing the price, sales target, advertising budgets, and other business policies. Since the number of firms is small, changes in price or output by one firm can have a direct effect on another firm. Last, characteristic is barriers to entry. Although similar to a monopoly, the firms in an oligopoly will restrict new entrants into the market. The types of barriers to entry are economies of scale, forces to merge ownership of patents and copyrights, to name a few. Oligopoly can implement cartel. A cartel is a group of firms whose objective is to limit the scope of competitiveness in the market. Cartel can be most successful in the oligopoly market if most of the following conditions are fulfilled. Small number of sellers, similar cost condition for all sellers, inelastic demand, stability in the industry, product differentiation is minimal, and high barriers to entry. The end.